Move that the question be now put.
I'll call Claire Curran.
Mr Chair, this is the first opportunity that I've had to take a call on this bill, and I want to talk about the title clause, which, as a number of my colleagues have said, is very misleading. But first of all, I want to say that I love The Hobbit. Everyone loves The Hobbit. I've read it at least twice. Hands up those who haven't read The Hobbit. There have been a few that haven't read The Hobbit. I love The Hobbit so much that I and of course not only have I read The Hobbit, but most of us who have got children have read The Hobbit to our children. My children like The Hobbit so much that in January they applied to be extras on The Hobbit. They haven't heard back yet, and I would have applied to be an extra on The Hobbit too, except I can't quite picture myself as a hobbit, more of an elf. But there are quite a few people in this house that look like hobbits, or goblins, or trolls, or dark lords, and all of those sorts of things. Not on this side of the house, of course. But there are a number of alternative titles that I would like to talk about tonight. Because, Mr Chair, everyone wanted The Hobbit made in New Zealand, and that is a good title for this bill, is that everyone does want The Hobbit to be made in New Zealand, and that is not the issue. But what it has resulted in is a rushed, botched and unnecessary piece of legislation, which is another alternative title for the bill that will, as we know, remove protections for many workers in the film industry. It's bad law, and it's about resulting in uncertainty. So it's the resulting in uncertainty bill in the film industry. And I've got another alternative title because and I'd like to refer to the former Australian Prime Minister and then Treasurer Paul Keating, who famously warned in May 1986 that if Australia did not get manufacturing going again and keep moderate wage outcomes and a sensible economic policy, it would end up being a third-rate economy, a banana republic. And I know that a number of my colleagues have referred to the banana republic tonight, and again that's an alternative title for the bill, the Banana Republic Bill. The fact is that what Paul Keating was saying was that Australia needed strong and coherent economic policy, which is what we don't have in this country right now, not knee-jerk reactions and kowtowing to foreign capital. What kind of a country are we becoming where the rights of groups of workers are being sold off to satisfy the whims of big corporate interests? So maybe that's an alternative title, the rights of groups of workers being sold off to satisfy the whims of big corporate interests. Or as my colleague Parakura Paramir said, breakdown in relationships between workers and employers bill, as the alternative title for the bill. And reporting, and I just want to mention that reporting from overseas is already exclaiming at the power that a big corporate can wield over a small nation. And there's been some interesting international coverage, and I just want to read you a quote from the Hollywood Reporter, which said that, quote, however, the question on the minds of observers is whether the studio will also, and they said that a few days ago, whether the studio will also seek and extract from the government higher production incentives than the existing 15% large budget screen production grant. If so, the result would be a dramatic demonstration of the power a media conglomerate can exert over a small nation desperate to retain a $500 million production. One measure of the gravity of the situation is the contention by currency analysts that the continuing uncertainty had helped drive down the value of the New Zealand dollar. Now, that's an overseas organisation reporting on this situation. And we also have heard the employment law specialists criticising the government's plan, in particular Professor Nigel Harworth from the Auckland University Business School. he didn't see a need for the change in the law, which is also an alternative title. There is